Instagram, on the Facebook, everywhere. Great. All right. This is going to go live. Fabulous. So I'm Lindsay. I am the woman with the nipples. I'm the founder of Soothe Beginnings. We are really going to get in and talk about different pacifiers. Okay. So we're going to talk about the different shapes, the different materials, what all that means. Because you look at the pacifier market and there's just so many options. We're going to make this a little bit easier to navigate and talk about. And any questions you all have, throw them at me. Okay. Let's see. Perfect. I can see my comments there. Just want to make sure I can see everybody's comments. There you go. Facebook there, Instagram there. Perfect. All right. So let's get started. So if you are pregnant, if you are expecting a child, or you have a newborn, or it's something that you wanted to start thinking about, there's so many different ways to get prepared for having a baby. And unfortunately, one of the things that you cannot fully prepare for is your baby's going to have their own preference once they get here. And that is just the name of the game, how it goes, what you're trying to figure out. Okay. So that was one of our problems. Is we had a colicky newborn. I had postpartum depression, and my daughter had reflux. So I really needed to find a pacifier that would work for her. I went through so many pacifiers. I am doing all the research, looking into everything. Everyone's claiming to be the best. Everyone's claiming to be breastfeeding friendly. It was just confusing, and there were it was confusing. It was a confusing time. And when everyone's claiming all these different things, what's the truth? What's actually going on? So I set out to create an easier for parents solution, in a way that parents actually could be prepared for when their baby is here. So with that, let's start in on why even bother giving a pacifier. So not every baby takes a pacifier, and that's totally cool. We're never going to force it. If you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. If your baby likes one, cool. If they don't, whatever. It's all good. So babies actually start practicing sucking before they're even born. So this is something that starts in the womb. So babies are born ready to suck. It is totally a survival skill they have. It's called non-nutritive suck when they're sucking on something that's not a food source. Practicing non-nutritive suck enhances and makes their feeding far more efficient. So, and excuse me, I'm kind of sick. Thanks to my daughter. Love her, but I got her sickness, didn't need it, didn't want it. So if I have to be drinking my juice here to keep my throat okay, we're going to go as far as we can tonight. So pacifiers have incredible health benefits. They do help NICU babies get out of the hospital faster, because that increased repetitive non-nutritive suck is making their feeding so much more efficient. It helps strengthen their digestion, and it is practicing that suck, breathe, swallow. That way when they are feeding, it's just a lot more efficient and going well for them. Pacifiers can help with reflux in babies. It was a game changer for us, super duper helpful. And the other really great benefit is that pacifiers across many, many different studies have been shown to be correlated with the lowered risk of SIDS. So there's a lot of cool things there going on. Obviously, we like it when our babies are calm, cool, and collected. I mean, that's just a really great plus. One of the things to consider too that was really interesting is a few doctors have talked about, and any questions you have, jump in, throw them at me. one of the really interesting things is thinking about the cortisol levels in the baby's brains. And if they're, screaming relentlessly, how does that affect brain development at such a young age? I do wish there were more studies on it. It's a very interesting thought, and there are interesting theories from doctors, but I would love to see more research on that, because obviously if you have a baby that's just screaming all the time, you just think about what that can do for development. It's really interesting stuff. I totally went down a whole rabbit hole of this stage of life, working with experts, and it's just been really, really, really intriguing and interesting. So we know we've got a lot of great benefits to pacifiers. So where do you start? Are some better than others? Are some not great? And that's where I start. The first thing I want to talk about is every parent is going to have their own wants and needs with pacifier selection. There are going to be some parents that want something eco-friendly. There are going to be some parents that want something plastic-free. There are some parents that are just not really going to care and just want it to do the job. They just want something their baby will take. There are some parents that are going to be nursing and they don't want the pacifier to interfere with nursing. So there's a lot of things to take in consideration and what that looks like for you and your family. And that's okay. We all are going to want different things out of it, but we're going to help you decode it, figure it out, what all the different shapes mean, the materials, all that jazz. So starting out with pacifier shape, and I'm swimming in pacifiers here. You should see what this looks like. It's pretty ridiculous. So, I mean, there's a lot of different pacifier shapes, right? This one is claiming to be nursing friendly. It actually isn't the proper latch for nursing, believe it or not. The proper nursing latch is actually much, much, much wider. So babies that are nursing have a deeper, wider latch. So it is very different than what a lot of the nipples on the market look like. That was something I wish I knew 2.5 years ago. This shape also, so this shape, you can get it in the Ninny. And this is a shape we're releasing this spring ourselves as well with this interchangeable system. So that way, if you're trying to navigate the pacifier situation, the feeding situation, you're covered. So this is that wider, deeper shape. They have more of a deeper use of that master muscle, and that is what you actually want worked if you have a nursing baby. You actually do want your baby doing the work, because that is where they're getting the benefit and the more efficiency with eating and the benefits of that non-nutritive suck. So it's really interesting stuff when you think about it. So this is actually the proper shape. Again, that would be the Ninny or Soothe Beginnings come this spring. That's what that shape looks like. Then you have the most common shape that you guys are going to see in the hospitals is this guy right here. It's called the Soothie, and ours, it's modeled right after that. The interesting thing about this shape, this is the top rated shape for quality non-nutritive suck. Yes, studies have been done on this. Thank goodness. It's incredible. I love it. So this is the top rated shape, and you want your baby's tongue to curl around that nipple. So that is one of our shape offerings as well. Now the second rated shape, so sometimes your baby may not like that shape. My baby did not like that shape. And that's going to go for anatomy. There's going to be a lot of different reasons, just preference, anatomy, maybe the depth of the nipple. There's a lot going on there. So the next common shape that you're going to see is what's called that orthodontic shape. So you see it's kind of more bulbous. It's flat, and then it gets more bulbous. This is the free flow. This is the second rated top shape. Okay, so this shape is really, really great quality for non-nutritive suck, and that's where we've got one of those bad boys coming out as well. So that way you can swap it into the pacifier system, see which one your baby likes. You're covered on all bases. Now what's interesting is that there are going to be differences. So do you see how wide this one is, and this one isn't quite as wide. So there are differences even within the orthodontic shape, even within that cylindrical shape. But these are your main three shapes that you're going to see, okay? So if you're nursing, and actually, even if you have a baby that has an oral tie, this is your recommended shape. That's a really great place to start. Get that wider latch, but it does help with those oral tie babies. I'm not a myofacial specialist. I can't really explain that aspect of it, but for pediatric occupational therapists and dentists that deal with frenectomies, this is the shape for that. And then you have the cylindrical shape and that orthodontic shape. If you have any questions, definitely drop them. Let me know. One thing I do want to talk about as far as shapes. So those are your three recommended shapes. These don't track very well. These are not highly rated shapes. These are extremely popular lately, but this shape is not performing well overall. Something to keep in mind. How it gets really, really bulbous towards the back has not been performing well. So those are the three shapes. If anybody has any questions on shapes, let me know. We're going to move forward on to talking about materials. So pacifier nipples come in two different materials. We're going to start with this one here. So this is that natural rubber material, and then this is your food grade silicone material, okay? Now, food grade silicone does very, very well with heat, with keeping its shape when your child is sucking on it. The natural rubber does not retain its shape very well. We've kind of got a can of worms to talk about with these bad boys. Natural rubber is latex. This is latex. Latex is more sensitive to heat, and I have seen it time and time again with multiple friends with their babies. They reach out and say, hey, why is the pacifier like bigger after my child sucks on it? Heat, sucking on it, these do not hold up as well. Even if you leave these out in the sun, the UV affects these nipples. They break down a lot quicker. The other thing we need to talk about with these is that latex is a major allergen. Hello, Nico. Latex is a major allergen. When I was working on our pacifier system, the thought that went through my head was, what if a newborn baby goes into anaphylactic shock? I have had people reach out and say that is exactly what happened, even before they've left the hospital with their new baby. So that was obviously a concern. The other concern with latex is that it is one of those allergens that the more you're exposed to it, it increases your likelihood of becoming allergic or sensitized to it. So very much is something to keep in mind. So from that allergen perspective, from the how much quicker they break down and they're reactive to heat and UV, that can pose a safety hazard with choking, because as it breaks down quicker, these pieces can break off. So that is something else to keep in mind. Silicone is a much safer material that you don't need to worry about that allergy situation, which yay for that, but it is much more durable as well. Something else to keep in mind, so you've got your two different nipple materials, is the shield element, okay? So there are going to be some pacifiers that are made with plastic. This is what's called a closed design pacifier. So you see you've got the nipple attached to like a hard shield. The concern with these is that they can tend to separate, and that poses a choking hazard. So that is something to be aware of. Either something that is, one piece, or With ours, obviously, it's a much wider nipple, so it's not going to come through and just break off. It's not just attached to the plastic. So very, very different design, something to keep in mind. There have been issues as well with the designs that have a very narrow hollow opening. Babies have gotten their fingers stuck in there. So it is something to keep an eye on. You had to trash a pacifier this morning that broke into pieces. Yeah, it definitely definitely happens frequently. And as much as you can limit the risk and know what to look out for, it helps. So knowing what you have, knowing what to look out for definitely helps. So again, you have the food grade silicone and you have the latex. So we've got allergy and it breaks down a lot quicker. Food grade silicone is my choice of pacifier nipple. Okay. So talking about the material as well for that shield, a lot of parents are getting away from plastics. So that's something to think about. Is that something that's important to you? Do you want more sustainable? I'm dropping pacifiers. Do you want more sustainable materials? Not even sure where some of the pieces are. Oh no. Oh no, that's not great. Yep. Yeah, Nico's saying he had to trash a pacifier this morning that started breaking into different parts and don't know where all the pieces went. That's a scary thought as a parent, and that can happen. So we do what we can to mitigate those risks. One of the biggest tips I can give parents as far as pacifier safety, replace the nipple every 4 to 6 weeks. Pacifiers, even if you're doing the silicone, if your baby's biting on it, you just want to get in the habit of replacing them. I totally recommend doing pacifier subscription. So if it's on Amazon, we're offering subscription. Wherever it is, whether it's Walmart, put your child's pacifier on subscription so it's not something else that's on your plate. You guys have a million other things to worry about, think about. Take it off your plate. And always check the pacifier before you give it to your child as well. Now, my child, for example, was a master pacifier hider. Yep, 4 to 6 weeks. Don't worry. Don't stress if you didn't know that. So I just had a study conducted. More than 50% of parents didn't know that. So don't stress it. You're in good company. More than half of us did not know that. So that is totally okay. But now you know. But yeah, just throw it on subscription. Make it easy. Parents don't need something else on their plate. So back to the materials. If you're looking to avoid plastic, because as your baby gets older, they kind of start gnawing on them. Soccer drives. Yeah, my child used to use soccer drives to cover her pacifiers and hide them. So some parents don't want their child having plastics. Understandable. What we're doing is our pacifier shields are made out of, this is, believe it or not, it's recycled paper with a plant-based resin. Food grade, totally safe, dishwasher safe, so you can keep it hygienic. So when you're replacing your pacifiers, it's for safety, but also for hygiene. And a lot of the different pacifiers, you can't actually take apart to clean, which was a major issue for the pacifiers my daughter used before I became the pacifier expert. She was using this kind. You can't get in there to clean them. So saliva, water would get in there, and that just breeds bacteria, mold. So it's just an extra thing that you're worrying about, right? Let's keep it easy. So you can totally take it apart, throw it in the dishwasher. That's one of the great things about this material with this design. Easy peasy, much more durable, safer. You're not having to worry about what's in it. Non-toxic. And what I really like too with the material, I was very intentional on, well, obviously, I was very intentional on the design. I wanted as safe as possible. I also wanted something that was going to be beautiful. I mean, you don't see pacifiers that look like this that are engravable. And I was really surprised. A lot of parents wanted a black pacifier, and that's engraved with a monogram. I was really surprised parents wanted a black pacifier. It's not something I would have thought of when I was putting up color options, and parents really loved it. So you've got your materials, you've got your, for, you know, the shields, you've got your materials for the nipples. We know we need to replace your pacifiers every 4 to 6 weeks for safety and hygiene. Um, but also, you know, in talking about the design element as well, making sure you get a pacifier that is easy to clean is really going to help keep your child safe. And that was one of the elements we personally struggled with. I'll tell you that. We were really, really struggling. I was throwing out pacifiers left and right. I spent so much money on cheap pacifiers because they sucked, for lack of a better word. I spent so much money on cheap pacifiers, having to replace them because they weren't hygienic. Bacteria was growing, mold was growing. They were disgusting. I could not clean them. And this, I completely designed what I wish I had to give my own child with that. So we talked about the different nipple shapes, the different materials. Any questions you all have, definitely drop them. I know a lot of parents are looking forward to having a modern pacifier, a much more beautiful pacifier. I was having to definitely take out my daughter's pacifier. Like, this is the kind she took. I had to take them out to take photos. They weren't cute. They weren't. I do want to address this kind of pacifier with the stuffed animal attached. This is a hill I will die on. I will tell you that. The problem with these are a suffocation hazard. They're not approved for safe sleep. If that isn't bad enough, the weight from the stuffed animal pulls on the nipple and actually hits the roof of the palate, and definitely can have a negative effect on oral development. So that's something else to keep in mind. So yes, it is a great shape, but that stuffed animal totally negates the safety. And don't feel bad if that's one you use. It's one I gave my own child when I was doing the hunt for a pacifier. It was definitely part of the process. I had that one. We went through these ones. We went through these ones. And something else to keep in mind, it can actually take a hot minute to figure out which pacifier your child likes. My daughter would spit out certain ones. Excuse me. She would spit out different ones. And that can be whether they have oral ties, anatomy, just outright. Sometimes that more orthodontic shape works better, or sometimes maybe that more cylindrical shape works better. So there's going to be a few different reasons. You do want your child working a little bit to use their pacifier. That's definitely part of it. That's something I have videos on, guides on, you know, how to kind of work with them on it. But we're never going to force it. Sometimes they gag when you're initially giving them a pacifier, and that's okay. There's a little bit of a learning curve to the wider nipples for sure, because that is a deeper, wider latch and using more of that masseter muscle. But that is something that as you're figuring out your nursing versus bottle feeding, maybe you're trying to figure out if your child has an oral tie, you can completely work with the Soothe Beginning system and figure out which one it is your child likes. Which is the freedom I wish I had back then, let me tell you. So my daughter's 2.5 now. And yeah, that would have been oh so helpful. Oh, so helpful to have. So the other thing, so they come in, so we've got this really pretty, I love this color. It's like a navy color. I love that color so much. I think that's my personal favorite. A lot of people are ordering what's called the natural color. This has been the most popular one. It's just a really pretty, it looks like an oaky wood. It looks like wood, which is really pretty, but you don't have to worry about it splintering. It's non-porous. And then this black one people are loving, and it looks gorgeous when you've got that monogram on there. I love how that came out. So that's what we've got going. Any questions anybody has? I probably won't be on late tonight because of losing my voice here, but you know, trying to keep it cool. I do also have guides on pacifier weaning. I know that's a very big concern for parents. The line is eventually going to expand beyond pacifiers. We are going to be dropping teething nipples that swap out, and we're going to be dropping weaning nipples that swap out as well. Really trying to just make those stressful stages of life a little less stressful as well. And these are, let me line them up for you. These are the 3 shapes you get with the starter kit. So you get that cylindrical shape, you get that orthodontic shape, and you get that wider shape, which is great for nursing or oral ties as well. And those are the shapes that you get. I have been, and this element I really love, is getting them customized. You can put your baby's name. You can put that. You can put the name. You can put the monogram. Excuse me. Nana's favorite. You can put whatever you need or want on there. We are going to be doing too at around Christmas time. We are going to be putting out a beautiful color for Christmas. Very Christmassy. But it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous color. I think a lot of people are going to love. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Let me know if you need anything at all. I am going to sign off. My voice is going.